I haven't painted since I finished my egret painting, which was over a month ago now. Things got busy with client work and with planning my daughter's second birthday. I try not to stress in times like this, though. I try to remember that this is just a busy season of life and that in the coming years I will have more time to paint. Something happened though recently that pushed me to want to start my first collection of paintings. It didn't really seem like a big deal at the time. I was spending time with my twin sister, and she asked me what I thought my next painting would be. I laughed and told her probably another long-necked bird because I seem to come back to them a lot. She laughed and asked, "More cranes?" And I said, "Oh, it could be anything. Cranes, storks, pelicans, maybe a swan." And I actually stopped what I was doing and said, "No, it's going to be a swan. I'd really like to paint a swan." It was nice because often I'll sort of feel inspired in the moment when I want to paint, but the pieces that I'm excited about ahead of time tend to be the ones that I like more in the end. We ended up joking that if I was going to paint a swan, that it should be a little swan, because I like the dance of the little swans from Swan Lake. I really like the music and the dance for that piece, and I've said many times that I'm going to teach myself the piano so I can play it one day. Pretty much from then on, I couldn't get the thought out of my head. I decided I actually want to do a series of small paintings as a collection. Each painting will be about 5 by 7 inches, which will mean that they will absolutely be little swans. Part of the reason that I'm so excited to work on this collection is because of the song from Swan Lake, and that it will remind me of one of my favorite ballets and of the brief time that I spent in the marketing department of my local ballet company. I also just really like swans, and we don't have them where I live. I find them to be really beautiful and ethereal, and I'm also a romantic, and I like that they tend to mate for life. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to with working on a smaller series of paintings is that each painting will go much more quickly than if it were a larger piece, but the same amount of planning of composition and color and the same techniques go into each painting regardless of the size. For me, that is a bonus because I have pretty limited time to paint right now, but I keep feeling like it would help me to actually start and finish more paintings where possible, rather than just picking away at larger pieces. I was so excited to work on this project that I got pretty much right to it. I'm really happy with the thumbnails that I have so far and have one in mind for the first piece that I'd like to make. I'm working on doing a pencil rough where I can work out some of the details in the composition and the value, and then I'll be able to use this to create my linear to trace onto the watercolor paper. I really enjoyed working on these pencil drawings, and I felt a lot more confident with actually drawing out the anatomy of the swan by the end of the day. However, I was feeling a little bit hesitant about the project as a whole at this point. It might just be that the initial excitement is wearing off, which leaves room for self-conscious thoughts to start creeping in. But just in looking at the finished drawings, I got a little bit worried. Even as I'm looking at my reference, everything is starting to feel a little bit expected and cliche. I'm starting to get a little bit worried because swans are really well documented, and I'm worried that this will just look like every other swan painting the world has ever seen. I'm not sure at this point if I should maybe change course or reconsider if I want to stick with swans. I decided it was time to call it for the day, time to step away and come back to it with fresh eyes. Giving myself a few days to step away from this piece and come back fresh has helped a lot. I realized that a lot of the self-conscious thoughts that I had were very similar to thoughts that I had in college about pretty much anything that I did, but specifically I got really into painting roses. I eventually got really self-conscious and thought everyone had seen rose paintings so many times that it wasn't an interesting subject, and I should stretch myself to do things that are different. At that time, I realized that it's not as much what you're painting as what you bring to the table with that painting, and I think that that also applies here. Looking back at my original reference and inspiration, I can see that apart from just wanting to capture how beautiful swans are, I was also really inspired by light and value. A lot of the images that I was inspired by are really dark, with the swan in contrast against that background, which is really different from how I normally paint. There's also a lot of grayed out colors and a moody feel overall that I was really excited by. In my sketches, I noticed that a lot of my compositions show a feeling of stillness and calm, and others show a supportive and protective huddling together in these sort of dark and uncertain feeling spaces. Swans are still a very familiar subject, but I don't think that that is bad as long as I can still get across what I wanted to say in these paintings. Familiarity can also bring a feeling of trust and peace that I think is really fitting for this collection. I'm just going to keep at it and do my best to execute these paintings the way that I have them in my mind. No matter what though, I'm feeling incredibly excited and inspired to work on them again. And I'm glad to be spending this time with them. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope that you enjoyed watching me go through my whole painting process, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.